Last week, there were a total of 195. But if you guessed that, you're wrong, because tonight, there are 196. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the latest addition to the global family of nations, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, formerly known as downtown Seattle.
Who's City Hall? Our City Hall! Who's City Hall? Our City Hall! You have to lose your job. You have to lose your job.
The point is, in the end, this is our street, it's our station. Whose street? Our street. Whose street? Our street.
Well, that looks pretty appealing, but before you jump on Expedia to book a trip with the family to the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, now known, by the way, as CHAZ, the country's Tourism and Economic Development Department is calling it that, you should know that there are no beaches in CHAZ. This is a tiny nation. It's smaller than Liechtenstein. The entire country extends only 6 city blocks. It was built on land that was formerly owned in part by the Seattle Police Department, but the founders of CHAZ wanted that land. So they planted a flag and they stole it, just like the conquistadors. The first thing they did after they declared nationhood, and this was a bit of a surprise given that these modern conquistadors claim to be progressive ideologues, but the first thing they did was establish rigid national borders. They built a wall around the place, just like Donald Trump once said he would do. Their wall is made from wooden barricades. A sign at the entrance to the country warns, "You are now leaving the USA." And then there are armed border guards, not technically ICE agents, but close enough, who question everyone seeking entry. Countries have borders, and the founders of CHAZ understood that. They don't want the place flooded with illegals, and by illegals we mean the citizens of Seattle.
We've been hearing from community members that they have been subjected to barricades set up by the protesters, with some armed individuals running them as checkpoints into the neighborhood.
Well, it's pretty smart. You can't let just anyone into your country. An uncontrolled flood of immigrants would tank the economy, and the people of CHAZ know that. They're not libertarians. They don't work for the Chamber of Commerce. They're not giving you some speech about how immigration makes you richer. They're realists. They want to make this work for the sake of their people. And they don't have much to work with. What exactly is the economy of CHAZ? It's tough. With limited natural resources and a population with virtually no skills of any kind, apart from spray painting the F word on public buildings, they lead the world in that, the people of CHAZ don't have a lot of options for economic development. So they've gone with extortion through violence. Again, just like the conquistadors. It's a time-tested formula, and it's lucrative.
We have heard anecdotally reports of citizens and businesses being asked to pay a fee to operate within this area. This is the crime of extortion.
Well, like the nation it broke from, its mother nation, the United States, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone is what political philosophers call a proposition nation. It's a country based on an idea rather than particular people. The founding idea in CHAZ, its Magna Carta, its Constitution, its raison d'etre, is that cops are bad. Very, very bad. The police are bad and should be abolished. So not surprisingly, CHAZ has banned police from its territory. The surrounding city of Seattle seems okay with that decision. I mean, does the government of Italy dictate local policies within the Vatican City? No, of course not. It's autonomous. Same thing here. What's amazing, though, is that the leaders of CHAZ would like to dictate policies in the city of Seattle. And so they're demanding that Seattle get rid of its police force and close all jails and prisons. At this point, CHAZ has not yet been admitted to the UN. Presumably there's an email headed there now. But as the Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best explained, the country already has recognition from the Seattle city government.
The decision to board at the precinct, our home, the first precinct I worked in, was something I have been holding off. You should know, leaving the precinct was not my decision. You fought for days to protect it. I asked you to stand on that line, day in and day out, to be pelted with projectiles, to be screamed at, threatened, and in some cases hurt. Then to have a change of course nearly 2 weeks in, it seems like an insult to you and our community.
All you had to do
the city had
was allow the National Guard to help.
And relented to severe public pressure.
Bullshit.
Pretty powerful police chief, pretty formidable law enforcement leader. I'm sure the people of Seattle feel well protected. So Chaz is a nation without leaders. It's a flat
Build the wall.
system. It's anarchy.
Build that
How
wall.
long can that continue? Probably not very long. Anarchy isn't built to last. In the end, the strong always dominate the weak, and in fact, it's already happening. It took barely a day for the nation of Chaz to get its first warlord. And it was quite a promotion for him. Just a week ago, Raz Simone was an up-and-coming rapper. He was also a superhost for Airbnb. Now, he's a monarch. In videos taken within Chaz, Simone is seen patrolling the area with his allies. They have guns. They're declaring, "We're the police now." In one clip, the monarch's men assault a citizen of Chaz for spray painting graffiti inside the zone. Just like the mafia, Chaz doesn't put up with nonsense like that in their own neighborhood. So that's what's happening in Seattle tonight. Not a big deal. A brand new nation within our own borders. Yes, the last time that happened, it did kick off a civil war that killed hundreds of thousands of Americans and lasted for years. But it's not a huge deal, and that may be why Democrats in Congress seem completely unaware that it's happening. Nancy Pelosi has said nothing about it, neither has Adam Schiff, and you'd think they kind of have their finger on the pulse of the nation. The mayor of Seattle knows about it, obviously. It's happening downtown, but doesn't seem bothered in the slightest. In fact, in the last few days, the mayor of Seattle, Jenny Durkan, has tweeted in honor of a deceased gay icon in the city. She's bragged about building new housing for the homeless. Until tonight, she didn't even acknowledge the existence of Chaz. Again, a nation built in her downtown. The president noticed, though, last time he tweeted this: "Take back your city now. If you don't do it, I will. This is not a game. These ugly anarchists must be stopped immediately. Move fast." The mayor of Seattle replied this way, simply, "Make us all safe. Go back to your bunker." Ooh, a clever social media wordsmith. There are questions, though, unresolved. For example, what will happen to the American citizens who may have been shopping downtown in Seattle and are now stuck behind the border of Chaz? Can we repatriate them? Are they now prisoners of war? These are questions of international diplomacy at this stage, but the mayor has not addressed them. She did say tonight that Chaz is really like a block party, and she said she might grant some of their demands. Presumably a bilateral treaty is imminent. We'll be bringing you that news when it happens. The media haven't paid a lot of attention to Chaz either. They're excited by anything that's new, but not in this new country. It's kind of weird because just a month ago they were very against demonstrators. The anti-lockdown demonstrators in Michigan, for example, were dangerous zealots.
Really just an ugly, dangerous scene at the state capitol in Michigan.
Black people's right to protest is secondary to white people's right to be an armed protest with long guns.
Bunch of guys camoed up, a bunch of guys with long guns.
These potentially dangerous protests against stay-at-home orders.
Tiny minority with guns marched into the state capitol in Michigan today to lobby in their raucous way.
That when it's white people with guns and they're out and they're angry and their faces with cops,
Didn't see any of that.
everybody's civil.
These folk ended up in the state capitol, Craig, with automatic weapons, and they were treated with kid gloves.
We said at the top of the show we're going to try to stay amused. Night after night we play those clips, and every night it's just, it makes you red in the face. How can people that stupid have TV shows? And that dishonest. But tonight, let's acknowledge it is amusing. Because here's the standard. If you protest lockdowns in Michigan with guns, but don't commit any violence at all, it's a threat to the nation. But if you commit beatings and loot and burn down buildings, you are, quote, mostly peaceful. If you create an armed, independent nation in downtown Seattle, it's amazing. Good call. The New York Times is on your side, and in fact, just today, the New York Times published a piece that described the nation of Chaz as, quote, a homeland for racial justice. So we have homelands now in the middle of our country. The nation of Chaz is, we're again quoting the New York Times here, quote, an experiment in life without the police. Part street festival, part Conway. It has free food, and that's what it takes to make everything right. Just get rid of the police. By the way, how many of the people writing this stuff would go spend a week in Chaz with their families? Or in Chad, for that matter? Zero. But that didn't slow ABC down. It described Chaz as, quote,
With a wall.
festive. Basically like free to bet, except in this case the media actually support it because China's on board too. We'd love to explore this question more. The press and the Democratic Party have repeatedly condemned protesters who carry weapons simply to make a point with no intention of using them and don't use them. And of course, last winter we had an entire impeachment charade based on the idea that nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one's above the law.
No one is above the law.
No Republican.
No person is above the law. Nobody should be above the law.
Nobody should be above the law.
No one is above the law.
Non-playable
Got that,
characters.
America?
Same talking
Stop
point.
exercising your rights.
Repeat the mantra.
ones you thought were the law, and shut up, because no one is above the law. Except for Democratic voters, obviously. They're not simply above the law. In fact, they get to make their own laws. In fact, they can make their own countries if they want. It's all totally cool, just as long as they vote in November. Jason Rantz hosts a radio show.